speech I'm about to give today is a speech I've tried to give 5 times. All 5 times it's been cancelled at different universities. So one time I was even in prison to stop me giving this speech. The most recent time was York University. I was invited to give a speech on free speech, ironically. It was cancelled. Because it was cancelled, I've been invited here today by citizens of York who still want to give me an opportunity to have my free speech. So today I'll give the discussion that they tried to stop. And to the people who tried to stop it, rather than going to 250 students in York University, this will now be played to hundreds of thousands of people around the world. You failed. I'll start off with thanks for making me a bit taller. All right. First of all, the speech I'm going to give you today is going to be about free speech and what I'd say is exposing the British police state. I'll start off telling you about where I'm from. Most of you already know. I'm from Luton. Luton is rated as one of the roughest towns in the UK. It has the highest poverty levels in the UK. One of the most deprived areas of the UK. It has a lot of problems. Regardless of religion, it has huge problems. Now, I'm not here to pull the wool over all of your eyes about who I am or what I've done in my life, yeah? Because I've been no angel. I'm not claiming to be polishing my halo. Yeah? Growing up in my town, I've never seen racial tensions, which is a completely diverse town. I've only witnessed religious tensions. The town is divided between Muslims and non-Muslims. We have a population probably of 30 to 40% that are Muslim. We have 30 mosques. I could probably stand here and talk non-stop for 2 months about Islam and multiculturalism. That's not what I'm going to speak about. I'm going to speak about the British police state and free speech. And George's phone. So, the country I thought I lived in prior to starting my activism in 2009 is a very different country to that I now accept I live in. And I think that as we move through this, some of you have views on the country we're in, and by the end of it, I think hopefully unfortunately, they may change. By the end of the speech, you might view the country in a different way. I'd say there's 3 levels of activism: disbelief, disappointment, and acceptance. Everyone will go through those 3 levels. I've been through them. Yeah? I think most of you, when you start hearing the stories I'm going to tell you about the British police state, you'll be in disbelief. Then you'll be disappointed, as I was, that the country I loved seemed to hate me back. Then you'll be in acceptance, which is where I am. I accept we live in a post-free speech era. Most people give up once they get through these free processes. Pressure is something that's going to come up a lot as a tactic, yeah? And it's a reason for that. It's a way of silencing and stopping. And this may get repetitive because I'm going to talk about arrest after arrest after arrest, motivations for these arrests. I'll start off talking about how it all began, why it began. It started with a soldiers' homecoming in my hometown of Luton, where our soldiers were parading through the town. Now, I was there that day. I've grown up in Luton. I've witnessed Muslim demonstration after demonstration after demonstration. On this day, I witnessed large numbers of Muslims attacking our soldiers, spitting in their faces. One of the soldiers' mum's face, they spat in her face. And I watched the police reaction, the way they policed it. They didn't search them, they didn't stop them, they didn't put cameras in their faces. They actually protected them. They arrested members of our community who were outraged and angered by what was happening. Now, if we go to the first video here, this is just a quick snippet of a protest in Luton. These are the things I've witnessed growing up. This is thousands and thousands of Muslims. And the reason why I'm doing this is to show you the comparison of why we felt angry. These men, many of them have got faces covered, some have got balaclavas. Translated, what they're saying is about killing the Jews. Yeah? Killing the Jews. Marching through the city centre, kill the Jews. Okay? No opposition from police. Nothing. So, in response to the soldiers' homecoming parade, I organised a demonstration in support of our armed forces. Now, the police tactics on that day, bearing in mind I've seen the way they police their community, we were kettled, we were stopped. There'll be a little video here now. Hands in pockets, feet. I remember having to take my shoes off in the town centre. The police locked us. They locked our community in. My auntie had to piss in the street. She had to urinate in the street because they kettled us in for 3 hours. Now, these are tactics that would never happen to Muslims. It would never, ever happen to them. They would not use this against them. So it became more at the start about equal rights and unfair treatment. That's what really electrified everyone, was how are we being treated like this? My friend this day, I have a friend called Isaac, his picture, a little black lad called Isaac, lost his front teeth, a police officer on a horse, walked past, and there's actually a video of it, went past and smashed his teeth out. All we're trying to do is support our armed forces. So their tactics from day one. So when we've done this first demonstration as the United People of Luton, straight after that, police raided 14 houses. One of the houses was mine, my mum's house. This was the first time, there'll be many times, this is the first time they went to my mum's house. They went on public order charges. Now, if I stand here and scream, yeah, they can arrest you for public order offence. That's all it was. They fabricated these charges. They went to 14 people's houses. They picked people from each estate, pretty much, yeah? And that's a tactic to install fear. When they went to my mum's house, we had another demonstration planned a week later. I wasn't at home. I've stayed away until the next demonstration. I've gone to the next demonstration. The Home Secretary then gave banning orders for all protests in Luton for 3 months. The 14 people that have been arrested, the police gave bail conditions. You're not allowed to enter Luton Town Centre 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This was the first time I'd witnessed fraudulent cases against people in order to restrict bail conditions in order to limit their freedom. Yeah? This was the first time. So after the second demonstration, I contacted the police to hand myself in. Obviously, you've raided my mum's house. I must have broke a law. You want to see me. We don't need to speak to you anymore. So they didn't need to speak to me because the Home Secretary had given them powers which they were literally just trying to give us via bail conditions anyway. These tactics work. Do they scare people? Yes, they did. Even my close friends at the start, yeah, Tommy's been arrested. Everyone's been arrested. It puts fear. And we had a third. That was the second demo. We had a third demo planned. On the day of the third demo, there's a lot of problems. It was all getting highlighted to the whole country what was happening. We had a third demo planned, but we cancelled it. My cousin Kevin that morning, Kevin Carroll, many of you may know him. Kevin was about 40 years old at the time. 6 o'clock in the morning, he's been raided. I remember getting a phone call. I was laughing at the time. I found out that Kev's been arrested. And he had been arrested, and this is where they choose the dates. So he'd been arrested on the day of our third demonstration. The offence he'd been arrested for was the original soldiers' homecoming, when Muslims were screaming in our armed forces' faces. Kevin, on camera, called them wankers. That's it. He's never been arrested in his life, never been in trouble in his life, lived a straight life his whole life. Here he is getting dragged out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, taken through the courts for calling terrorists, because most of them now are in jail for terrorism, for calling them wankers. That same day, they held that arrest for that date to prevent the third demonstration, but which we'd cancelled anyway. That same day, I'm driving in my car. Police pull me over. I'm arrested on suspicion of driving a Ringer, a stolen vehicle. Yeah? The vehicle I had was on finance from brand new from Vauxhall. Okay? It was a straight, legit car. Yeah? And they arrested me, they seized my car, and they raided my mum's house. So this is the second time in a number of weeks they've gone to my mum's property. They raided my mum's house looking for number plates, they said. 2 weeks later, all charges dropped. Now, what have we done? What's happened for police to be coming into my family's house twice now in a number of weeks? What have we done? We've organised a protest to support our armed forces. That's it. That's what started it. Charges drop. Charges drop will become a common theme in this case, in this story as well, because time and time again, these charges that are fabricated are just dropped. Yeah? Again, 9 months after the United People of Luton, the English Defence League, many of you may know, it sprung up, it spread like a wildfire across the country. 9 months into the EDL, we had the first demonstration for the Scottish Defence League planned. I've gone to Luton Airport. I'm flying out to Edinburgh. I'm arrested by Special Branch. I'm held by Special Branch on a charge of criminal damage. I'm then taken to a police station. 30 police officers have come from Yorkshire. The crime is criminal damage. You know, on the top of these hotel room doors, the little metal connector. At a hotel that I've stayed in Leeds, £30 criminal damage was done in the hallway to a door. I apparently fitted the description of the man that had done it. So 15 police officers at my wife and kids' house with machine guns, 15 police officers at my mum and dad's house, seized all electrical goods. Their warrant said they could take electrical goods to see if I'd booked the hotel. Yeah, this is what it was all about. They took my dad, 65 years old. This is the third time they're in my parents' house, my family's house. And this is all pressure. It's all intended to get your family distraught, upset, And it works because, as any of you could imagine you started expressing your political belief against something, and in 3 times your mum's door's been kicked off. Your wife, when I lived in that house, when they come with machine guns, my daughter was at the nursery. The lady who ran the nursery was 3 doors up. My wife wouldn't take the kid to nursery again after that. It works. My wife was crying, coming home, crying her eyes out. It works. And it is political. And so this charge of criminal damage, Yorkshire police had come down. I was due to speak at a demonstration in Bradford about grooming. Grooming at this point was still hidden. The police's tactic was still to hide it. No one knew about it. Yeah? We were talking about it. The police officers that come down from Yorkshire, when they bailed me on the criminal damage charge, they bailed me. My bail conditions were not to contact the EDL. Yeah? Not to send an email. These were all bail conditions put in. The bail date was the exact time. I had to go to a police station at the exact time we were due to protest in Bradford. Yeah? This had nothing to do with a criminal damage at all. Yeah? This was used as an excuse to get in my house, seize my computers, get intelligence. At the same time, when I come home, my wife said, one police officer spent 6 hours at that file. Yeah? Because their warrant didn't allow them to take paperwork. So instead, what they did is I had the files, which were all to do with my properties and businesses, where one officer wrote everything down. So I thought, what are they doing then? I was confused with what they're doing now. 3 weeks later, once the demonstration had passed, charges dropped. Yeah? So is that okay? No, for me, no, it's not. You've raided my house, you've scared my family, you've intimidated us, and then you've just dropped the case, completely dropped the case. I put a complaint in through the IPCC, the Independent Police Complaints Commission, asking them how you got warrants into my property, how you were able to do this. What turns out, and what I said, I made allegations against the police. I said, I believe it's politically motivated. I believe the date you've chose to arrest me is because I was joining the Scottish Defence League. I believe the bail date you've chose to give me was to coincide to stop my political activism. I believe all of these things. They've admitted all of them. When this goes out online for the Rebel TV, you'll see all the evidence, yeah? They accepted it all. Yeah, you're right, we did. It was illegal. Our officers will be sent on training courses. This will be done. And it's like the knock-on effect. I don't think, unless you're, no matter what side you're on, when you're getting raided and the effect it has on my mum, on my parents, on the embarrassment on the family, and then just to be dropped. This was the 3rd time in 9 months. 3rd time they've kicked the doors off. We continue. I come out. If you want to go through YouTube, you'll dig up. As soon as I got out of the police station, I'd have made a video about this. Everything I'm saying will correlate, and there'll be evidence and videos to tell the whole story the whole way through. 3 months later, boom, my door goes in. 6 o'clock in the morning. By this time, I've become publicly known and a target. People want to kill me for what I'm saying, for speaking the truth about Islam. 3 months later, doors go in. I run down. I was quite relieved to see the police because I wasn't sure who it could be. When I saw the police, it was a Luton police officer, and the first thing he said is, "I'm sorry, Stephen." I said, "Don't be sorry, you've got your orders." He said, "We're taking your wife." And I'm even getting emotional if you think about it. So they arrested my wife, who was 6 months pregnant at the time. I'm getting now. Sorry, I'm embarrassing. Yeah. She was 6 months pregnant. She went for an 8-hour interview. They arrested me as well. We were arrested on tax evasion and money laundering. My wife sat a 6-hour interview where she was told she was looking at 7 to 8 years in prison. When I come out, she was broken and begging. The cases were from this, they froze my assets. At the time, I had 2 businesses. I had 7 properties. For a young man, I was successful and doing well. My passion was making money. But then the reality for me was it didn't matter how much money we make or how much we want to move into nice areas. The problem will be left to our children for the next generation if we ignore it. What have I done? This is the 4th time of arrests. What have I done? I've started speaking about Islam. That's it. What have we done? What has my wife done? She's done nothing. Now, we were rebailed. My wife answered bail, and so did I, every 6 weeks for 3 years. And every time, so waiting all the time for the case, waiting all the time for the charge. They closed our businesses. They put us on a restraining order that meant you're allowed £250 a week to live on. Now, if you spend over that £250 a week, you get 18 months in prison. These orders were brought in to deal with terrorists. They were being put on us for speaking about terrorists. I'll be honest, out of everything I've dealt with over 8 years, this was the most difficult thing to deal with because it was something getting punched, getting aggression, I could deal with that. This was impossible to financially live and have any ambition to do anything. This lasted for 4 years, this restraint. 4 years. It's unheard of. No charges brought. I had no charges brought. So this innocent until proven guilty. The Labour government passed these new laws where they didn't need a crime. When they come in to arrest us, they didn't have a crime. They're looking for one. They didn't have a crime. And when I say they went back through, they forensically investigated everything I'd done in my life, going back 10 years. And when that didn't work, they forensically investigated everything my mum and dad had done. Everything my wife had done, everything her brother-in-law had done, everything my cousins had done. In the middle of all this as well, I've gone to football. And as I said, I'm not here to pull the wool over your eyes. I'm not here to lie to you. I haven't lived I've made mistakes in my life, as everyone does. And as a young man, I did. I went to a football match where I was arrested on another charge. I was arrested outside a football stadium, and for nothing related to football. And I was that charge was subsequently dropped. When I answered bail for that charge, they said that I swore outside the football stadium. 2 police officers said I swore. Yeah, I thought, well, that's nothing. Yeah, I was taken to court. Then it became apparent why. I was convicted for swearing outside a football stadium. The headlines in the newspapers were I was convicted of a football hooligan riot. I was convicted apparently for calling them sheep shaggers. Yeah? Luton were playing Newport, England versus Wales. Yeah? It was a football match. Now, what became apparent when I was prosecuted and convicted, they produced a map. This map showed, which when this goes online, you'll see the map. This map showed where I was and wasn't allowed to enter for the next 3 years. I was not allowed to step in the Muslim community. They actually drew a map around it. I was not allowed in my town centre on Saturdays. I was not allowed in the train station on Saturdays. So here you had, again, this is the first chance I'm seeing that you are limiting where I can and can't go, and you're using football legislation to do that, yeah? Which has got nothing to do with football legislation. But you've used it. This happens again, time and time again. And anywhere, so now I can't work. I can't go to football, which was my passion as well. I love football. I can't work. I can't go passion. This tactic of what they wanted to do actually backfired because it made me the most dedicated leader to the English Defence League they would ever get. Because that was what I had then, yeah? And I was angry. I said, if they didn't do this restraint, if they didn't arrest my wife, if this didn't happen, I wouldn't be standing here talking because I never would have been able to continue leading that movement and live a life. But because they took my life, I had the movement left. So it didn't really work. Even for example, I was getting married 2011. The night before the wedding, all the men go for a meal, yeah? All the men meet up. We had a meal booked for 32 people. These are just little things. It may not seem like a lot, but it's anywhere and everywhere you move, they pressured. I booked a restaurant in a place called Billy's in Harpenden. Harpenden is a beautiful little English, wealthy area, yeah? In comparison to Luton. So people from Luton will go to Harpenden for a nice time, yeah, to get away from Luton, yeah? Now, we had a table booked. The afternoon of the thing, I get a phone call saying, sorry, we've cancelled your table, from the owner of the restaurant. So what do you mean you cancelled my table? She said, we've had the police in. So I said, look, just wait there, I'm coming to see you. So I went to see her, I walked in and see her, and she said, you? I said, yeah, because I've been going to this restaurant for years. Now, the difference is, in this restaurant, this is a completely, exclusively white town, yeah? There's no black people there. Most of my best friends are black, right? So people in this town would remember. I've been going there since 17, 18, 19 with my group of friends. So the manager said, you're always in here. I've had the police in here telling me there's loads of far-right racist troublemakers and there'll be trouble here tonight. We'll have to have police on duty. I said, I'm coming for a meal. I'm just coming for a meal with all of my family from the night before our wedding. So it didn't work because once she met me and she knew me, and my cousin used to work in the venue, so I spoke to her. She allowed us to have the restaurant, but every little place that they could employ a little bit of pressure. And we haven't even started yet on where it goes. So I was ready for threats. When I started this, I've grown up around Muslims. I know how they work. I know the hostility. I know the anger and the violence. I ended up getting 6 Osman warnings. An Osman warning is a government warning saying that people wish to kill you. That they have intelligence that someone's planning to murder you. Yeah, I could deal with that. At this time, 6 Muslims were arrested with guns, bombs, IEDs on the way to blow up the English Defence League. Yeah, they were in prison for 30 years. I then had a Muslim with a shotgun went for my cousin in Luton at his house. Yeah, it was all over the media. Now, the police then sat us down. They sat us both down and offered us new identities, witness protection, new identities, new lives, new everything. What have we done? What have we done to need new lives? What at this point have we done? We've organised demonstrations. We've started speaking publicly about Islam. And here we are with 6 government warnings to kill us, terrorists in jail, and now getting offered new identities. Part of the new identities where we'd have to give up what we're saying, never say it again, change our place, even move us country, the police were talking. Yeah, this is all pressure building, all pressure in it. Now, just before this, in 2010, what they managed to do as a government, as a plan, as a state, is make our voice and what we're saying a fringe extreme element. That's what they managed to do. Yeah? That's what they were trying to do. In 2010, I had a meeting set up with the third biggest PR company in the world who had contacted us, who had meetings set up in New York to meet members of Congress. So I flew to the airport, I landed at JFK Airport. I was arrested as soon as I landed. I was held for 6 hours. I was told straight that the British had asked them not to let me in. Now, why don't they want us let in? Because our message may go mainstream if we're set with influential people. They're managing, no one who's influential in this country will sit with us, will listen to us, will talk with us. The political correctness is that powerful. It's a different story in the States. If we're talking the truth, a politician will sit with you. So that's where we were at. We were going to meet members of Congress. They stopped us. 2011, I thought, and the whole way through this, to be successful or to get anywhere, we had to be prepared to do 2 things, get killed and go to jail. Because if we weren't willing to do that, then no one would have listened anyway, because no one would have heard what we're saying. So 2011, I decide, I know I'm not getting in America, so I think I'm going anyway. And I think I'm morally right to go. And I'm going with a warning to America of what's happening here. I go. I get in on my friend's passport, insanely enough, on September 10th. I get home. 6 weeks later, I'm arrested by British police. I'm remanded, instantly remanded, into Wandsworth Prison. Now, in comparison, there's one Muslim in the UK who has used their sibling's passport twice to try and join ISIS. I didn't try and join ISIS. I went to New York for 2 days. If I'd have known I was going to get 10 months in jail, I'd have gone for at least 2 weeks. But I ended up getting imprisoned, and I spent 22 weeks in solitary confinement because my life had gone so chaotic. I was neglecting my family. I was English Defence League, English Defence League, English Defence League. That's it. Yeah? And then I had a chance and a time to think about the effect it was having, where we were going, what we were doing. The movement changed on the outside whilst I was in prison. I'd fought for years to keep far-right elements out. They were welcomed back in. I then had a time to evaluate. I'd made a decision during that prison sentence. And the reason why I talk about this prison sentence is because to get around their laws, because you're only allowed to spend 28 days in solitary confinement because of your mental health issues. Yeah. What they did is every 28 days, they moved me from one solitary confinement prison to another. So I went from Wandsworth to Bedford, Bedford to Woodhill, Woodhill to Wandsworth, Wandsworth to Wayland, to get around the laws for what they were doing. Yeah? Now, when I was in Woodhill prison at this time, for me to walk from here to there, for me to get taken out of my cell, they locked the whole place because they were fully aware he'll get killed. Yeah, because our prisons are like radical training camps for Muslims. Now, I had a visiting room where my wife would come and see me. I was the only man in it. It was twice as big as this. I felt like Hannibal Lecter. Yeah? But I felt safe. Which is what mattered. I felt safe because I knew no one was going to get to me. I then come out of prison. I've made the decision I'm leaving the English Defence League. Lee Rigby's killed. Lee Rigby's murdered, which changed everything again for me. It changed everything for me to think, now we need a reaction, okay? And I organised a charity walk. Now, you'll see the footage now of the... Some of you would have already seen this. We'll see the footage of the charity walk. Get back. Arrest him for assault. That's all. Listen, we just been... You've got to get these 2 numptins. How come he hasn't been handcuffed? How come he hasn't been handcuffed? If we do in the year 2013 in London. Mike, look, that's we've been arrested on our forces day doing a charity walk. Yes. This is year 2013 London. Okay, come on, mate. Because we want to walk. Unbelievable. We were doing a charity walk at that time for this darling Amelia May. The police the night before the charity walk come to see me. They come, Scotland Yard police officers come see me in Luton. I met them in Luton and they sat down and said, we don't want you to walk through Tower Hamlets. Now, my charity walk was going from A to B, a straight line. I said, why not? They said, because of the Muslim community. I said, what about it? They said, well, the mosques. I said, I walk past 8 mosques every Saturday to go to football in my hometown. We're sitting in a Muslim restaurant. I met them in a restaurant called Imak Grill, which is a Muslim-owned restaurant who I went to school with a kid, full of Muslims. I sat there like, look around you, this is where I live. What are you talking about? And they would rather you went around. You'd rather me take a, 10-mile detour because there's some Muslims there. I said, that's my capital city. For me to get to A to B, are you telling me I can or can't? They said, no, we're not telling you can't, we're asking you. I said, well, no, I'm not. I'm going to walk from A to B. Okay, there's no zone that I'm not walking in London because there's a few Muslims in it. So what it turned out is that the Muslim leaders had come out publicly and said, we don't want him walking through our community. Now, some people, this would sound far-fetched and amazing to. I'll go back to another story. So in Birmingham, we were holding a demonstration. Now, I read online that a Muslim had hit a police officer with a brick and he'd been arrested. I then read on one of the Socialist Workers' Party websites, chat forums, that 200 Muslims with the imam had turned up to the police station and they'd told him they better release him. And I read that the man was released without charge, yeah? Now, I didn't believe it. So now I've had a meeting with Birmingham Police, the hierarchy, about a demonstration. And I've run it by the copper, our liaison officer. And he said, yeah. I said, what? What, you let him go? And he said, well, look, we have to weigh up a situation, Tom. Yeah? If those Muslims would have rioted in Birmingham and it would have spread to Bradford, to Oldham, he said, we could have nationwide riots over one man, over an arrest. I said, that's insane. I said, so who's in charge of the law in Birmingham? Is it you or is it the imam? I said, it's the imam. It's not even you. So when you see this, if I'd have walked through Tower Hamlets, they've already been warned. It was in the paper. They've been warned by the leader of the East London Mosque. We will not control the youth. Yeah? They've been warned of a riot. This is Aldgate. That was at Aldgate East Border. So Tower Hamlets is say there. Yeah, I get to hear they let 2 men walk in front of us who assault us. Now they'd have thought we reacted to it. We didn't. It was a pure setup. I guarantee those 2 men are police. They worked for the police. They'd done that to then arrest us. I'm then arrested. Now, this is where the collusion comes up. The Crown Prosecution Service are supposed to be independent from the police. So the police would arrest you, gather the evidence, put it to the Crown Prosecution Service. They decide if you're arrested. Now, you can watch the long version of that video. We are walking, we get attacked, we are then arrested. Right? Now, you've already been wrongfully arrested. We're charged. I'm then charged by the police, taken to court 3 times. Why? Because as soon as I was charged, the police gave me bail conditions not to enter the borough of Tower Hamlets. I spent over 6 months not being allowed in the borough of Tower Hamlets. The minute those conditions were released, what I said is that the police are creating, at this time, our argument was you're creating a Sharia zone for people who oppose Islam. You're creating a zone that we're not allowed to walk through. And as soon as my bail conditions were off, I said, I'm bringing the English Defence League to Tower Hamlets. Yeah? But in response to it, I organised a demonstration to go to Tower Hamlets. The Home Secretary, our now Prime Minister, they imposed conditions saying we weren't allowed in Tower Hamlets. We went to the High Court. Even at the High Court, the police put the charges against myself. We went to the High Court, and their argument was, which they admitted in court, we're not worried about the English Defence League. Yeah? What we can't control is the reaction waiting for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to limit your freedom, what you can say, where you can protest, when you can protest, because mob rule works. Yeah? Unfortunately, it works. They're going to smash everything up. They're going to write, we can't do that. I'm then arguing, it become an argument about the police. I'm then arguing the police saying that after this demonstration, I'll come on my own and protest in Tower Hamlets if I want to. I won't bring the English Defence League. I'll come on my own. Straight after that demonstration at Aldgate East, I was arrested. I was arrested and charged because my speech went 6 minutes over the allotted time. I was then given bail conditions not to enter the borough of Tower Hamlets. So all of these tactics of keeping cases going, of fraudulent arrest, is all to limit where you go and what you're doing. Right, I'll show you another video now. So I had, bearing in mind, 6 weeks prior, Muslims have been arrested in a car with guns and bombs on their way to kill and target us. I get a phone call from my family saying there's a car full of Muslims following us. Yeah, and my family would have been spotted. I took my kids to a party in Luton. I walked in the party, I saw the ginger convert, Roger Ibrahim Anderson. He calls himself Ibrahim Anderson. I grew up with this kid, yeah? He's now in jail for ISIS terrorism. Now, I walked in, I saw him. He was on his own with his kids. I'm with my kids taken to a party. I looked, nothing happened. I thought, sound, he's with his kids, I'm with my kids. 10 minutes later, when the other dad said, mate, you need to look outside. I've looked outside, there's about 60 waiting up. Big bearded mullahs, So then 6 of them have come in. I've gone into the kitchen when they've come in. I've given my kids to the woman and say, look after my kids. I've gone into the kitchen. I was trying to find something to protect myself with as they come in. Police have come from everywhere. Yeah. So from this, they've seen members of my family. Yeah. They're then following the members of my family weeks later. I get a phone call saying that they're following this. So I said, I'm on my way. So I'm in town. I jump in the car. I'm racing 100 miles. I'm racing as fast as I can to get to the road. I come screeching into the road. When I come screeching into the road, they're all standing outside. And then you'll see a video now. You'll hear the Muslims are all there. Play the video. It's hard to see because it's on old camera. You can see all the silhouettes up here. They're all shouting, come on, come. There's more police cars coming. They're outside our house. Yeah? This is in a cul-de-sac where they don't live. What was the police's reaction to this? They arrested 3 of my family. I was held for 36 hours. They got an extension. Now, I'm thinking, 6 weeks ago you caught someone on guns and bombs. This is the same group, yeah? What were they coming to do? What did they have on them? So I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder what you found. I get through to my police interview and I ask the police officer, what did you find? Straight away, what did you find? What did you find? She went, what? You haven't even searched them, have you? You didn't even search them. Have you arrested them? They were not arrested. They were not searched. In the end, there was about 20 of them. We were held. Now, this just shows the pure double standards and lesson. And when she said, why would we have searched them? I said, I told you, they had weapons in their hands, standing on the grass. That's how blatant they are. Yeah, they don't care. They had weapons in their hands. And they said, well, we didn't know that. I said, I know there's a video because my neighbour was videoing it. I know there's a video of me telling you that. Yeah, they went and raided the house looking for the camera. They went to the neighbour's house. So I come out, make all this public. Next, so bearing in mind, when they arrested me and my wife, we've been on bail conditions for 3 years. I'm charged. They didn't charge my wife. I'm charged. I'm charged with tax. I'm taken to court. Their whole case of why they've done this, they say I owe them £137,000 tax. That would mean me not paying tax on about 300 grand, wouldn't it? I did have a business that was turning over quite a bit of money at the top for those few years. Yeah, it took 20 minutes in court for me to produce, for the evidence to be produced. I owed them not a single penny. Bearing in mind, they've closed my businesses. They've destroyed my shop. They've destroyed everything we're doing. And then within 20 minutes, we got not guilty. After this, I'll explain the mortgage case. I then had a mortgage case where I was charged with mortgage fraud. Between me and my wife, we had 7 mortgages. What they did is when they had nothing against me, after 2 years of my investigation on me, they started targeting my family all around. Cousins, they've done the nans, they've done one of my family members for not paying tax in 2006 on things sold on eBay. Yeah? Everything and anything they could find. Yeah? My brother-in-law was charged. His case was that he got a mortgage, self-certification mortgage. Any of you bought properties, you'll know. Years ago, it was encouraged. You're encouraged to say you earned more, really, as long as you put a big enough deposit down. Now, my brother-in-law bought his first house. Bearing in mind, when we were arrested, this all happened 5 years before. The house was bought. It was sold 9 months later. The mortgage company were paid. No one lost a penny. Yeah? This was the mortgage fraud they arrested my brother-in-law on. But they tied me to it because I'd lent him a deposit at the start. Yeah? So this was the case. This was the case. Now, at this time, you have to understand that I have many family members who have good careers, good jobs, and good lives, yeah, within my family, who were terrified. Yeah? Terrified of being involved in a court case, a huge court case with me, because that would mean they're exposed as related to me, and they become a target. Now, this tactic was working perfect for the police because this is a pressure tactic, and it worked. I went home with family members crying, who are crying and begging, like, this is your fault. And I said, you're letting them win. This is what they want. This is why they're doing this, yeah? Now, I've had a not guilty on tax. The minute I got the not guilty on tax, the mortgage is the next week. The first thing they did then was my wife, who's been on bail for 3 years, they said, set a date in court straight away, set a date for Jenna to stand trial. So I'm got not guilty on tax. They had no case. They then set a date a week later that my wife's going to go into court. So no one knows what my wife looks like. You all just have to look online to see what response I get when I walk around our hometown. Yeah? My wife doesn't get that because no one knows who she is. So it's a bit of security for me is that she walks down the streets with the kids and it's all right. Yeah? So I've managed to keep it like that. I live two separate lives. I've had to go home and say, Jenna, you're on trial next week. Yeah, the 3 years you're on trial next week. The media's going to be there. There was Muslim and far left organisations sitting in the gallery waiting. Yeah, the date's just been given out, and this is all part of their game or part of their tactic. I view it all like a game of chess. So I think, what are they doing? What's next? What's their outcome? What are they doing? That night, I went home. I told my wife, "You're in court next week." 4 o'clock in the morning, and because I've filmed everything 4 years. I had someone covering me at the time. The cameraman comes straight to my house. Police come to my house at 4 o'clock in the morning, counter-terrorism. They said, you've been named in a list to be killed at all costs by Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab are a terrorist organisation who 6 weeks prior had done the Kenyan shopping mall massacre. Yeah. So then my wife, who's going to have to go to court next week, yeah, I have to say, terrorists are going to kill us. Terrorists want to kill you. They want to kill me. All of this. And then I'm questioning, have I been named? Or is this part of the pressure? Because they've got no evidence on me. I'm walking on this case, yeah? But they've got little stupid bits of evidence for tax and irregularities against 5 or 6 of my family. Yeah? So I know the whole time, which I kept saying to my family, when I get to court, this isn't about you, it's about me. Yeah? I'm getting offered a deal, I know I am. So, and again, my views are my views. They're not my wife's views. They generally are not my wife's views. She despises it. So I get to court. I say to my wife, I walk into court, I'm offered a deal. Plead guilty to these charges, we drop the family. Yeah? The charges they wanted me to plead guilty to would have resulted in 5 years in prison. And again, all of this is documented through documentary makers, which will be coming out soon, is I walk outside and I ring my wife. I say, look, I've been offered a deal, I'm getting 5 years, but don't worry, everything's dropped against you, blah, blah, blah. My wife's crying hysterically, saying, please don't, 5 years is too long. Bearing in mind, we know I haven't done it. We know what this is all fabricated in order to get in a position. So I go back in and refuse the deal. I say, I'm not taking the deal, because 5 years is a long time as well. It's a long effect on my kids, and at the time I'm weighing it all up. They then swear the jury in. They swear 3 Muslims in on my jury. 1 PCSO. So I'm sitting there thinking, how can you have a PCSO as my jury? Yeah. 1 PCSO. I'm ready to go through the trial. Just before the trial stops, they stop it. Stop. They come out again, because bearing in mind, they can't have me getting a not guilty. Because if I get a not guilty for everything they've just done, everything they've fabricated, I'd be able to destroy them on what they've done. Yeah? So they offer me a deal again. Now this deal, the first thing I say to the solicitor, what's the maximum I can get? Maximum I can do. He said 18 months. I weighed it up. 18 months means serving 6 months in prison. I'm taking that straight away, and they're leaving everyone else. So I say, give me an agreement. I want it in writing. When this goes online, you'll see all the written agreement. Yeah, the written agreement was, we will drop the case against your wife. We will drop the case against Neil, which was another relation. We will drop the case. We will not take proceeds of crime, which means all the assets they've had frozen, my properties, will be released back to me. Now, I took that deal, so I went to jail. I got 18 months. Bearing in mind, what the crime was that my brother-in-law filled a mortgage form out wrong. The mortgage company didn't lose no money. No one lost no money. I'm then taken to Wood Hill Maximum Security Prison. That's one of the worst prisons in the UK, where it houses some of the country's most prolific Muslim terrorist extremists. I'm took there for this. Someone's filled their form out wrong. As soon as I get there, the difference is that when I was in there in 2011, 2012, when I was in there on solitary confinement, as I've said, they locked the whole prison to get me from A to B. This time, I'm just put straight on the first night centre. So straight away I'm thinking, well, this ain't right. I'm going to get killed here. The door opens. It's a Royal Marine, an ex-Royal Marine who's now a prison officer. And he said, when we come to get you, do not leave this cell. Your life depends on it. Yeah? I went, all right. Shut the door. Half hour later, my door opens. He's there with 2 other men. Yeah? You're going B-wing. I said, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah? He stepped straight in. If you don't go, I'm going to arrest you. So he was giving me a way out. I said, arrest me then. Yeah? He arrested me, took me straight to the way you get arrested. You go to the block. Yeah? Took me straight to the block. When he's talking to me, he said, you know where they were taking you? I said, where? He said, you know the 6 that are in for planning to kill you, that got 30 years? I said, yeah. He goes, they're putting you with them. He goes, Rach, I've got the name. I don't think I put the name in my book. The woman who, because I checked who made the decisions afterwards, the woman who made that security decision to put me there, like even that screw that told me, he said, she'd have been done for corporal manslaughter. Yeah, she would have got done because you'd have got killed. But you're dead then. Yeah? So there's no help. So the next day my solicitor's come to see me. This is in the prison. So I've gone to see the solicitor. I've sat down with my solicitor. Afterwards, there's a waiting room like this. The door's open on the waiting room. I've seen the beards straight away. I got locked in the room. Yeah? I got locked in the room and violently beaten up and battered. The Sun newspaper run a headline saying, like it was funny, Tommy gets done. Yeah? Tommy gets done. And it was Muslim. So I lost my teeth. I was beaten up. And they're supposed to be, that cannot happen. There has to be a duty of care in prisons for prisoners. You're not allowed to put, if someone's from one gang and someone's from another gang, they're not allowed to be near each other. Yeah, that's what they do. You're putting me, the most prolific and hated man from Muslim terrorists, because I've committed blasphemy and criticised their prophet, and you're giving me on a plate to them. The only thing that I was lucky was that I could tell by the Muslims, when they locked me in the room with them, they didn't know I was coming in. Because their faces looked like, oh my God, he's in the room with us. Yeah? And then it just went off. But if they'd have known I was going to be in that room, they'd have had chivs, they'd have had blaze, they'd have been waiting, and I wouldn't be here. Yeah? But someone pulled strings to do that. Someone pulled strings to put me on B-Wing. Someone pulled strings the next day to put me in there. Someone had to, it can't be explained, and I'll get onto other prison sentences where exactly the same happened. I'm then taken to Winchester Prison, luckily, because by this point, my family on the outside are contacting MPs. There's a campaign on the outside to try and keep me safe from people complaining, and contacting across the country. I was getting letters, legal privilege letters coming in, where people were sending letters to their MPs, going to their MPs, saying what's happening to him in there. Yeah. So then I was moved to safety of Winchester Prison. I say safety. I still have a few problems, but there's not as many Muslims in that area of the country because it's a local Cat B. Now I was in there, coming to the end of my sentence. I get a visit. Which I think is a legal visit. I sit down, there's two men, younger than me, smart, dressed in suits. We're from a secretive organisation based in Scotland Yard called the Met Intelligence Bureau. Yeah? The Met Intelligence Bureau, and what are your plans when you get out? Because when I left, I made it public I opposed the far right. They were trying to sell this to me that if you help us, if you want to do your country a service, then you will be helping us by uniting the right. Yeah? Uniting the right. When you get out, basically, we want you to unite the right. We want you to get close with Britain First. We want you to work with Paul Golding. We want information. We want this. Be their grass. Yeah? Be their informant. They want their words. We want control of the anti-Islam reaction. So if there's a terrorist attack, they want control. They want to stop any, which we are going to see in this country, unfortunately. They want to stop any far-right attacks, yeah, by uniting it and having their man at the top. Yeah? So I said, so hold on. I shouldn't be here. You've terrorised me to stop me leading the EDL. A doesn't know what B's doing, yeah? And now you're asking me to help you. I said, and stupidly, they said, well, what are your plans when you get out? And stupidly, I explained, you've froze my assets. Now, when I get out, luckily, I've had 7 properties. Yeah? I had them when I bought them all when I was young. The market went well. They were in loot, and I think like last year they went up 20%. I've been lucky. When I get out, I'm selling the properties. I'm getting back in the building game. That's what I'm doing when I get out. I said, you will not hear me talk about Islam again, because that's how I felt at that moment. Being in prison, away from my kids again, away from my wife. I thought I've done with this. I'm done with it. I then get out of prison. I'm walking out of prison, I get a licence. My licence conditions, bearing in mind I'm in jail supposedly for mortgage fraud, my licence conditions are not to contact the EDL. So EDL got to do with mortgage fraud. That is the clear, and again, all of these things will be put into the video. It's clear that this was a political case. It's clear that everything that's happened is political. I then say to my probation, my friend Paris Okai, he died of a drug overdose at this similar time, yeah. And I want to go to the funeral, and for this funeral, there would be 1 or 2 people going that were EDL. Now, if I associate with EDL, I'm recalled. So I said, "There's going to be EDL people there. You can't go." I said, "I can't go because I can't. It's mortgage fraud." This is the thing, the little things. So I've then rang my solicitor because my assets, which I've agreed already in a legal documentation that I signed to go guilty, that you're releasing all my stuff. Yeah. I then contact my solicitor, say, I still can't use banks. I've been out of jail a number of weeks. My assets are all still frozen. What's going on? My solicitor receives contact from the police, and I've got the letter saying I now have to pay them £325,000 or I do 4 years in jail. Yeah? And I said, how can they do that? Because what they're saying is they opened up a proceeds of crime criminal lifestyle investigation. But I've pleaded guilty under an agreement that wouldn't happen. Yeah? Because otherwise I wouldn't have pleaded guilty because you didn't have a case. At this time, we will not charge Jenna Lennon. At this moment, charges will not be brought against Jenna Lennon. That was the one word, at this time. So that was at this time. We're no longer at this time. I'm like, What? So you can now you're trying to take. So they've added up the equity in the properties, and we're taking it. That's it. So we're taking it to court, and we're taking it, or you do 4 years in jail. I get a phone call from MIB, who saw me in jail. Yeah? Agree to work with us, Tommy. This financial problem goes away. Yeah? This is the dark side of a state. I hear Jihadi John, yeah, and I heard Cage saying he was persecuted, they targeted the family, they done this. They probably did. Yeah? And it hasn't made me go cut people's heads off. So there's no justification what it's made him go and do. Yeah? I've never felt anything like that. Yeah? But I fully understand where we're going with the deep levels that the security services will go to get people in positions. Because what happened then was I went to court to argue, how can you do that when I pleaded guilty? The judge actually sided against the police on $325,000. He then decided to take $125,000. I walk out of court. I'm contacted by the police straight away. The court order's been given. I've been given a legal documentation. I've got to pay 125 grand. We'll make it so you pay £1 a month. You'll never have to pay that money. Yeah? I said, I'll pay the money, man. I'm selling the house. Piss off. It's not happening. Go away. Yeah? What they thought was they'd had me in checkmate position, yeah? Where I ain't going to want to give them 125 grand. I'm going to give them information or agree to work with them. Never happening. That's why I said I'm not going to be anyone's bitch or grass. It's not happening. I've actually got now, thanks to a donation campaign that was put up recently, I've had a country's top QC go through this case. I've got it in black and white documentation, which will soon be put to the courts, that everything they did was illegal. That the money they took off me was impossible to do. Yeah? If it's any consolation, I've been told, the judge, the prosecution, and the defence all got it horribly wrong. Well, that's a mistake. That's not a mistake. You got me in a position where you had me, where you thought I'd work for you. This is where it gets worse. I'm then driving in a car, and all of this again, I've got the documentations, I've got the interview tapes. I'm driving in a car, I'm pulled over, three cars block me in. You're arrested for burglary. Burglary, house burglary. House burglary. Now, many things I've been or done, or people would assume with me. Yeah? Burglary? I'm then bailed, and at the time, I'm trying to work this out. I'm out of jail a month. I've got another 8 months left on licence. And I'm thinking, when you're on licence from prison, if I fail a drug test, yeah, for your arrest on burglary, they drug tested me. If I'd have failed the drug test, I go straight to prison for 8 months. So in my head, I'm thinking that's what this is about. Yeah? I then get released on bail. I get home. My wife says, Winchester Prison's been on the phone. You've left property there. So I get the number. I've still got the number. Yeah? She gives me the number, 0207. I thought, that's not Winchester, that's London. I ring the number. Tommy, it's Ollie from MIB. Yeah? The predicament you're in. I'm not in a predicament. He said, you are. He said, because if you're charged when you answer bail in 2 weeks, you're going back to prison for 8 months on recall. Yeah? So, and if you're charged, what do you think the media stories of this is going to be? You're going to be recalled to prison on burglary. I have to be honest, I cried my eyes out. I sat there and said, what am I meant to do? What am I at this point? What do I do? I spoke to my wife and I refused it. I spoke to my wife and said, now in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to answer bail and I'm going back to jail. And for certain things it's not like just going to prison. I'm going into the most hostile environment. It beats going in the Millwall end anyway. So probation. I didn't have a meeting with probation. This has all happened. I'm invited to talk at Oxford University. So I tell my probation clearly, this is my moment to tell. I'm going to tell them everything you've done. I'm going to tell them about the Met Intelligence Bureau. I'm going to tell them about your licence conditions, your not letting me go to a funeral. I'm going to tell it all. Yeah? And my date's picked to go to the Oxford University. 4 days before I'm due to go to Oxford University, I take my children swimming, I get home, police are waiting. I'm recalled to prison. The reason they gave, someone tweeted me saying they're going to rape my mum. Their name was 1488 Hitler. Yeah, so it was a Nazi. It wasn't a Muslim, it was a Nazi. I get as many threats from them inbred Nazis as I do from Muslims. Yeah. So 1488. So he's going to rape my mum. Now my response to that was, he was looking for me, yeah, in Luton apparently. I said, you don't need to look for me. 10 o'clock in the morning, this is where I am. Yeah. So I went there. When I went there, police and probation are there. This is at the time. What are you doing? What are you doing? They said, well, you've told someone to meet you here. I goes, oh, so you saw that they said they're going to rape my mum? I've given you 300 threats to kill my family. You've not arrested one. Why am I going to come to you? I said, I'm not going to wait till someone turns up at my mum's house. If you want to find my mum's house, it's quite easy to do, yeah, through the system. So I've gone there. So I was warned that she said, you can't be doing that. I said, well, you need to do your job then, yeah? They then used that. They held that. 4 days before I'm due to talk, I'm recalled because I sent that tweet. No threats, no violence. They said that I put a risk situation where if the man would have turned up to attack me and someone would have tried to prevent it, I've risked that situation whilst on licence. So anyway, I'm recalled to prison. I'm standing there. The police officers, again, every time I've come into dealing with police officers, they've been good. Yeah? It's not them. It's not the. I always say this. Anything. I don't have anger against British police. I have anger against the people pulling the strings. So I've explained to the police officer my experiences in other jails. Can you take me to Winchester? Because where I live, my local prison's Bedford, where I'm in immense trouble here. Yeah, if you take me there. So he's rang the probation. This lady, Superwoman. He's rang her up. She said, nope, it's all sorted. He's going Bedford. So I've been then taken to Bedford prison. I've walked into Bedford prison. I've looked at the first reception man. Remember, this is my local prison. I've looked at the man. I said, have you got a brother called Mark? And he did. Mark, I knew his brother just by his face. I said, I know your younger brother. And then he went through the system. So he's looking on the system at how many Muslims are on which wings and how long they're serving. Because that's a big difference. If I get put on a prison wing with Muslims serving 28 to 30 years, they're going to kill me. If I get put on with some doing 6 months, I might get in a fight. Yeah? So we've gone through it all. We've established that the majority of Muslims serving the most sentences are on A wing. The safest place for me is on B wing. He's gone upstairs to see the governor. He's come back down. I'm sorry, bro. I said, what? And I've got all these He said, I'm sorry, you're going on A wing. I said, we've just established we've just done that. He goes, I know. I'm sorry, man. I said, give me a pen and paper. So I wrote out 6 pages to the governor about what his legal duty is for my safety. And the people in there and what they want to do to me. Yeah? He's come back and said, you're going, mate. You're going on B wing. Now, I've had to react in a safety way that when I get in there, remember, there's cells on the wings. There's cameras on the wings. There's not cameras in your cells. Yeah? So on the wing, everything's on camera. So I've got to then, in my mind, I've got to kick this off, yeah? To get put in a position where I'm safe. So I've gone in at 10 to 12. I've come out at 12 o'clock for dinner. I've walked straight into the canteen and said, which Muslims want to have a problem then? Yeah? And I've then started fighting in the canteen. And if I hadn't done that, I'd be getting it in my cell by 10 men. Yeah? Because I should not be in that position. And bearing in mind, I'm on a 28-day recall. So I'm then put in there, and I've come out. So I've then been arrested. I've got all the paper, put on solitary confinement. I'm safe. Yeah? I'm getting out of here. I'm seeing my kids. Right? I come out of prison. I sit down again with the probation officer, who I know that she's the counter-terror lead, and that's who's dealing with me. Yeah? I had to see him once a week. I had a friend who'd done manslaughter, who was seeing his probation officer once a month, and I'm like, oh, why have I got to see mine once a week? A mortgage form was filled out wrong. Now, Oxford again. What they didn't realise is I've arranged to talk at Oxford again. So when she sat down, I said, I'm talking at Oxford in 2 weeks. I said, and you just added longer time to my speech about what you've done. Now, 4 days before it, I dictaphoned the conversation. They come to my house again. And she come to my house and said, if you speak about Islam, if you speak about the Quran, if you speak about Muhammad, if you speak about the police, you're going back to jail. So I went, all right. I said, I'm still doing the talk at Oxford. Yeah? Now, if you watch my speech at Oxford University, I come out and say, the speech I wanted to give you, I've not been able to give you. I can't give it. Go dig it up. I said, what I'm going to talk to you about today is my life. And I didn't mention Islam, didn't mention the Quran, I didn't mention police. Yeah? Because I wasn't allowed to. And I said, that's free speech. And you can watch and see that at the start of my Oxford speech. And I said, yeah. Now, after this, I'm due to talk at the House of Lords on the 22nd of July. 22nd of July. Room booked. I'm giving a speech at the House of Lords about this. Yeah? I've managed to get a friendly acquaintance in there who's going to let me tell the story of free speech, let me tell the story of the police state, let me tell this story. 8 days before I'm due to talk at the House of Lords, guess what? I'm arrested. I'm taken to Luton Police Station. A fat police officer, huge, come in and said, we can work. We can help you. You can help us. I've done this for counter-terrorism. I know I've got 8 days left of my licence. Yeah? 8 days. So in 8 days, you can't do anything. So I don't care. Yeah? Do your best. You've got 8 days. I'm sitting in Luton Police Station. I'm taken to Peterborough Prison. I'm not even given the reason why I'm recalled. I'm taken to Peterborough Prison, And again, this is when I come out of prison each time. I come out of prison, so I'm not going to break any laws. No, I'm not going to get in trouble again. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to put my children through this again. And here I am twice in a situation again where I'm having to kiss my kids goodbye for something that I ain't done. And 8 days I'm recalled for. My license runs out on the 21st of July. Yeah? They held me past my license. They held me to stop me talking at the House of Lords. And this was all in the papers. It was all at the time. He's been recalled. And guess what happened when I'm recalled? So I'm recalled. I tell the prison when I get there, you know who I am, lock the door for 8 days and open it. Yeah? Because if you put me out there, we all know what's going to happen. I'm telling you, I'm in fear for my safety. Yeah? I'm telling you that. Right? That's what's going to happen. Put me straight on the wing. They put me on the wing with 4 Muslims who at the time, again, I've got all their names and the case that they were on. They cut a man's nose and ears off. They stabbed him to death. They're on the wing with me, 2 doors up. I walk out and I didn't go off my instinct. What I did in Bedford, the reason why I didn't go off my instinct, because I thought if I can try and ride this out for 8 days, if I do something like I caused trouble, I'm going to get longer. I want to get home. Yeah? I'm then standing on the wing and a white lad comes up to me, puts his hand over his mouth. He says, "You're going to get done with boiling water." Yeah? In prison, they put boiling water with sugar, throw it in your face. It's called napalm. Takes your skin, takes your face off. Yeah. So I said, "All right, who's going to do it?" There was a Somalian kid at the door. He said, "The Somalian." I'm then looking, where's the boiling water machine? Where's the boiling water machine? I don't give the man a chance. Yeah. This was on a documentary called 24 Hours in Police Custody. I walk over, before he has a chance to turn around, I'm hitting him. Yeah? I'm not waiting for that moment. And I shouldn't be in that position because I've already told you that's going to happen. Right? I'm held. I explained the situation to the prison. I told you what was going to happen. We know what was going to happen. I've prevented it happening. Yeah? I'm released from prison. This is where it changes. Their tactics of targeting me for years, targeting my wife, targeting my mum. Change of tactics. Change of tactics now is the kids, in front of the kids. Yeah? So I then go on holiday, 2-week holiday for my wife and kids. I land at Luton Airport. The police are waiting at the airport. They arrest me in front of my wife and kids. Got 3 suitcases. They leave my wife there at midnight. I'm arrested for a racially aggravated attack on the Somalian who was going to do me with boiling water in prison. Yeah? I'm then prosecuted. And by this point, I mean, I've given up. I've given up fighting because they can do what they want, and I know they can. Yeah? At this point, a friend in Canada set up a campaign to get me the best legal representation that money can buy. And it was for the first time ever, people donated in a huge way. Yeah? And I had the best legal representation. So I went to this court case. And when I was arrested, first of all, the clip that they showed me of me walking over and beating up this Somalian, the clip that they showed me was literally just that. And what I said at the time is, you need to cut 20 seconds before and 20 seconds after. You'll see the man stand next to me talking to me. You'll see him come up to my cell afterwards. Yeah? You'll see that what I'm telling you is correct. We hold on. They're not answering requests from the solicitor's office for the footage. They've only got that little snippet bit. When we get to court, we haven't got the footage of the 20 seconds before or after. Yeah? Luckily, I had a QC who tore it to pieces. He said, "Where's the documentation? Where's your computer system?" They wouldn't give us the representation from the computer system that would have showed them I was in fear for my life. I walked on that case for a not guilty. If I hadn't had that legal representation, I'd have been sent to prison again, in a position that they wanted me in, where my life is in danger. I've tried to give this talk about these issues so people can hear what they've done and what's happening. I've tried to give this 5 times. Edinburgh cancelled, Durham University cancelled. Each time I've got somewhere booked in to give it, pressure's been put on to cancel. Why? What have I done that warrants this? Again, that's what I'll ask. What is it I've done? I speak about Islam. I tell the truth. I'm honest about it. That change of tactics from my wife to then my children. You've had the arrest in front of my children. Now, my daughter was moving to the bigger school, yeah? So I had to sit her down in the summer and I had to tell her who Tommy Robinson is because she didn't know. Yeah? She's never heard of the English Defence League. So I sat her down and I went through saying, "Darling, when you go to big school, people might mention this, they might mention that. They might talk about me going to prison. I've been in prison." It's all news to her. She thought I was working away. Each time I went away, she thought I was working away for the prison sentences. I'd ring her every day. Even when it was building up to Christmas, I said I was helping Santa to my young kids, and I'd say, "What do you want made?" And I'd get the present that they wanted made, dropped there every week. So then I'd say, "Did you get it?" So they were thought it was all that. So I've had to then say, "Look, I've been in prison, darling, but you have to understand that I didn't do anything to be in prison. that warranted me being in prison. Now, that must be hard for a child to understand. The next video I'm going to show you is from Cambridge. I've gone to Cambridge with my children. Is that the next video?
I'm not having an interview. I've already told you.
So you're telling me what?
I've told you already. Yeah. Are you going to leave?
So hold on.
Are you going to leave immediately?
I'm with my children, and you're telling me I have to leave immediately.
Are you going to leave?
What?
You're going to get a Section 35 dispersal notice. Okay, we'll give you a 35 then.
Tell me for what? I'm with my children. I'm with my children.
Stop, get that thing in my face. I'm not being interviewed by you.
Right.
Tell me why.
Tell me why. You tell me why.
No. You'll get it on the form. It'll be explained to you.
Tell me why I have to.
I'm going to get a form down.
Tell me why.
Listen,
No, officer. When I'm
take that camera up my face. I'm not being interviewed. This isn't Crime Watch.
I'm with my children. You're telling me I have to leave.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because there's likely to be disorder.
Get off my hand. Don't assault me. Tell me why. Tell me why I have to leave.
Stop shouting at me.
So tell me why I've got to leave.
It'll be explained to you when you get yourself.
How are you drawing a jurisdiction to where I do and don't go with my kids? Tell me. Tell me the reason.
Shush! I'm trying to talk on my radio.
Hold on, you've told me I've got to leave.
Just trying not to take your hand away from him.
He's touching my hand. I'm minding my own business. I'm minding my own business. You've come off the street to where I'm having a private drink with my family, and you're telling me I have to leave.
I can't hear you, mate. I can't talk. We're upstairs.
Tell me why I have to leave. Mate, you know this is ridiculous, yeah? You're from Luton. You know this is ridiculous. Tell me why I have to leave.
At the end of the day, the boss has authorised a Section 35.
But we've already cleared it. Why? I'm with my kids.
You haven't cleared it with the boss, have you?
I'm with my children.
Decision, mate.
What sort of law?
You're going to drag me down the street without
What sort of law in a free country tells someone where they can...
Mate, so the decisions be made locally.
What sort of law tells a man with his children he has to leave a city? What is that about?
Right.
What is that about? What is that about? Freedom, democracy, Britain. What's that about?
Quite simple.
I should be.
Do you want me to explain it?
Tell me why then. Tell me why.
The situation is, because of the lessons we've learnt in the past, we know that if certain groups stay within the city,
I'm
then
with
it
my
causes
children.
violence, okay?
I'm with my children.
Unfortunately, a city
I'm with my
manager
family.
makes no difference. Same
Why
rule
doesn't
for
it?
everyone. So if we
It's
make
not the same
one
rule for
rule,
everyone.
don't shout.
There's loads of
calm
people
down.
from Luton
If
in
you
here.
want me to explain it to you, then I will. But you're going to keep it calm.
Yeah, go on then.
Situation is, because of the fact that there's going to be a likelihood of violence if a group stays here from this match.
You really think me and my 3 children are going to commit violence? Tell me the truth.
What I'm saying is,
do you think that?
Listen,
What you're behaving now says yeah.
Well, no, because you're coming up to me and my kids on a day out.
You're being
I'm with
aggressive.
No,
You're
you're coming up to me. Don't hit my hands.
You'll
Don't hit my
going,
hands.
you'll get yourself
You're
arrested.
hitting my hands.
You're pointing in my face.
You've come up to me. I'm with my family in a pub. You've come up to me.
Look at the scene you're making.
Scene I'm making. Who made the scene? Go outside. I'm with my
You're
family.
going to get arrested in a minute.
Why am I going to get arrested in front of my kids? So you want to arrest me in front of my kids because what?
Listen, you're going to talk yourself into
I'm not
this.
talking myself into it.
I'm trying to be reasonable.
You're not being reasonable. You're telling me I have to leave the city. I'm with my family.
Yeah.
Why? Tell me why.
It's already been explained.
No, go on, why?
I'll explain
You think
why.
me and my children are committing violence?
I think there's likely to be. Look at the way you're behaving.
Tell me.
Look at the way you're
Well, no,
behaving.
do you know how many people from this pub are in Luton? Why have you come up to me?
Pardon?
Why have you come up to me?
You're part of a group.
No, I'm not part of a group. I'm with my 3 kids. What group am I part of?
You're with a group of people who've been identified as potentially being involved in violence.
Are you for real?
Yes.
My daughter is 5, my son is 7, and my daughter is
You're
9.
not setting a very good example to them at the moment.
You're not. You're meant to be a British police officer. Who are you serving and protecting? Who are you serving and protecting here?
Shouting at me.
Who are you serving
In
and
a minute,
protecting?
a form's going to come. You're going to be given it. If you stay, you're going to get arrested.
Who are you serving and
I
protecting?
haven't got to answer this.
Chris,
This is not
who
an
are
interview.
you serving and
This is
protecting?
not an interview.
Your job is to serve and protect. Who are you serving and
You
protecting?
don't need to tell me I've seen my job.
Place is gone. He said, the other Luton I'll be where he said we're going to have to go.
Who are you serving and protecting?
I'm not playing this little game with you.
It's not
right?
game, mate.
It's
I'm
in-
out with my children.
You're
I'm
going to
out
be
with my
given a
children.
dispersal notice. I've explained it to you. I'm not doing it again. When the officer gets here, you get the form. If you stay, you get arrested. It's as simple as that.
I'm the area manager for a security company.
Oh, yeah.
The group that you're throwing out have been in the Prince Regent today with their children.
Yeah.
Caused no problems at all in there. They come in here, spoke to my head of security. He's saying that they've not
Shall I have a chat with you away from this side? No, away from you. Come and talk away from this side.
Why?
You're filming.
Because you don't want people hearing the truth.
I don't want to talk to
No,
you.
you don't want to
anymore.
hear.
You're being
No,
stupid.
she's telling you she's seen my family all day.
stay there.
Mate, what are you doing?
Stay there.
My 3 kids are here, bro.
Stay there.
So what are you doing? What are you trying to square up to me then? She's telling him we've been in here all day. Yeah, sorry.
I've already said you're not been good as gold
I know, but I'm not.
That's my missus and all.
Your missus, yeah. Fair play. Respect her. Because she's just told him straight.
I've told the cop that you lot have been.
He's been sound as a pound, mate.
You lot haven't been any trouble.
I know.
No aggravation whatsoever. Even your friends. I don't know if they were your friends at the time.
They're not friends. They're not friends.
But they've been no trouble either.
We're not, girls, we're not getting forced to leave.
We're not.
You alright? Sit down.
My jacket.
Where's your jacket, darling? Spencer, where's your jacket?
No, Mason.
Oh
you
shit,
left
he's
yours
just
in
brought
the
the
car.
jackets down. Have you got his jacket?
Do you think you can set a good example?
Yeah.
That's all.
Poppy didn't bring
No, he's looting. He
I don't
doesn't
really
agree
it's
to us.
embarrassing. Go get your jacket, Spencer.
No, he's here. Mate, he's on our side. I'm on the side. You know, you've got to go one side.
Guys, the one playing too.
Yeah, you go play and kill kids. Go play and kill. Come in. Go play and kill.
See you later.
See you later.
Fucking bollocks, mate. We'll have a beer next time. Sorry for bringing the kids out. We're not allowed
Please, mate, I agree with you. I mean, it's not like you haven't been abusive once or anything, so I don't get
All
it.
this is every angle they can get. Lee, I'll shout you, brother. Am I getting the section 30?
Section 35, yeah.
I'm getting the section 35.
Come outside, we give it to you now.
Do you want to give the children a section 35?
Pardon?
Do you want to give my kids a section 35? No. You're going to arrest my kids?
You'll get arrested if you carry on. It's not worth
What do you mean I'll get arrested?
Who's got 35?
So we're going to get an escort of 5 kids to this station.
5? Look how many police officers there are here. I'm out with my 3 children. I'm out with my 3 children. I'm out with my 3 kids. 3 kids. Embarrassing, lads. I understand you've got a job to do and you've got a boss, but you must be embarrassed yourself. You must be embarrassed yourself.
Us 3 and 5
I'm out with,
kids
we're
to a
out with our
station.
children. We've caused no problems. It's embarrassing, lads.
All the time, is that what you do?
You ready, kids? Come on.
Alright?
Let's go.
You get over there, did you?
Let's just go.
You get over there?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's alright, yeah.
Come, girls.
Alright?
Down.
Don't I'll get your tissue from there. We have to go. Come on.
Come on, kids.
Sorry.
Come on.
No, we've got 5 kids with us, so obviously we're causing loads of trouble and we've got to get out. So.
Look at that.
It's a fucking joke. Take care.
Oh, look, he's even following us now.
Follow us all the way as well.
Mate, go home. Kids, come on. Come on. Come on, darling.
This is what happens when we go to move away. You want to come? Oh, I'm filming it. Get it now and get over. Telling them, Mum, we've got to. It's very bollocks, isn't it?
No idea, darling. Darling, my daughter's crying her eyes out now, lads. So so you're following us. You're following us.
You're shouting.
You're making my daughter cry. Go away.
We're making sure that you stay
They're
safe.
scared.
Right, okay.
Because of
We're
you.
following you. There's no way out of that.
You think we
okay?
need safety officers?
Because
Go
we're gonna
away. Macy, darling, come here. Come here, darling. It's all right. Come here, sweetheart. It's all right. Girls, it's all right. Come here. Come here. Come here, sweetheart. Come here. Girls, come here. You've terrorised my family. You've terrorised my children. You have terrorised my children. No, you've terrorised my children. Stop following us. You've terrorised my children. You've terrorised my children. They're kids trying to watch football. You've terrorised them. You've caused this, you bully. You horrible bully. Who's swearing? Who's swearing? If someone come up to you with your kids, if someone come up to you on a day out with your children and told you, if someone come up to you with your children, get arrested, yeah, in front of my kids, of course you would, you horrible. Why are you following us? Go away! Kids, it's alright. It's alright. It's alright. Why don't you, someone? What? Bells is right. Bells. Macy, come in. Macy, relax. You're scum. You're scum. You know it. Look at them. Look how scared they are. You're horrible. Go away. Stop following us. Oh, keep me down up here. Keep me down up.
I can film you as well, mate. So.
My daughter's crying her eyes out now, lads. So no, you're following us. You're following us.
Katie, Katie. Katie, stop, come on.
Come here, darling. It's right. Come here, sweetheart. I'm in a restaurant with 3 of my children, with my 2 friends and their children. Police officers have come. You can watch the longer version of that. The links will all be put online. They come in and said, we're ordering you to leave the city. Leave the city now or be arrested. In Cambridge. Why have I got to leave the city? What do you mean leave the city? What sort of law is that? I'm having a Saturday with my kids. Yeah? Are you going to leave the city? We're going to arrest you. So I think, I don't want to get arrested in front of the kids. I'll leave the city. So I walk out to leave the city. Then they follow us with the camera. Then they follow us with the camera. My children become hysterical and scared. Yeah? I said, you're scaring my kids now. Right? My youngest tried to run. The car nearly hit her. Yeah? That's only when they stopped. They were following us. You can't stop us following you with a camera. Yeah? Now, this is, again, a tactic that it hasn't worked. Nothing's worked. Nothing's stopped me. Nothing's stopped me talking. I think some of them be scratching their heads, whoever's pulling the strings, thinking, how has he done that? How has he survived that prison sentence? And how is he still rabbiting on? Yeah? But my daughter, my eldest daughter, who I've already explained all these things to, she said to me the next morning, Daddy, I get it. I said, what's that, sweetheart? She said, the police. Because she's witnessed it. Yeah? And the next time I took my youngest to a Luton police, I took him to a Luton football game after this. When we went past the police, she grabbed my leg screaming and crying. Yeah? I haven't done that to her, they have. I've shielded my family, my children from everything that's happened, even from my politics. I don't speak to my children about Islam. They're children. They don't need to hear about Islam. The school, unfortunately, teaches them about it. So I've gone to the Euros. I've gone away to the Euros to watch football. I've got to France. My wife's rang me up. Police were all over the house. What time did they go to the house? 4:45. Right? Kids getting in from school. Police meat wagons at the house. What are they at the house for? They're at the house I return. The next video you'll see. So I go to the Euros. I spend 2 weeks in the Euros. My mum at the time is ill. I get a phone call saying she's been rushed into hospital. So I come straight home. I come home from the Euros, and you'll see this video now, if you can do that. The video, yeah, this one.
But basically, I've been ordered by the UK Football Police in Unit to serve you the summons.
To come to my house like this with my fucking kids up. You take the fucking piss.
Listen, I understand.
This is bullshit. You come to what's the need for you to come dressed like that to my house?
I understand.
What's the need for you to come dressed like that to my house? Get out of my house. You've given me the sofa. Get out of my fucking house.
Thank you.
You take the piss. Get out of my house.
Thank you.
Get out of my house. You come to my house, it's bullshit.
You've been summoned for court tomorrow morning.
I don't give a shit what I've been summoned for. I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. If I've done nothing wrong, what's the need for you to come to my house like that?
I know you're upset.
Upset? Your fucking kids are sitting up there looking at you.
The kids don't want to hear it.
Well, what are you here for then? Have a go at me. What are you here for? What are you here for then?
I know you're upset.
No, I'm not calm down. They take the piss. There's no need for you to come dressed like that to my house when I've done nothing wrong. Other than to intimidate me and give harassment to my family. That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
Calm down, Steve.
No, how can I calm down? I've done
What are you here for?
a football ban and all that. I've done nothing wrong.
He's back now.
I've done, yeah.
You would have tried to explain to me.
Explain to me. Why are you coming to my house? Why are you coming to my house dressed like that?
No, all right, tell
Because my kids will cry every time they see a police officer. Because of what? What have I done?
But we
I
have
don't
had
know.
this discussion before. You're not supposed to come here in uniform. You're not supposed to be here in uniform. For the safety of our family.
Not for the safety, because you know my kids will be crying every day thinking, what the hell are the police at our house for? And I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong.
Steve, I'm only
You could have come dressed like that and no one says a word.
I'm only taking
You can't go to court tomorrow.
Now, I'm angry, yeah, about that when they come to my house. The crime, there was no crime. There's no crime. They're not saying I committed any crime. So they're coming to my house again. That's twice. So they've already been there when I was in France. They're there again to arrest me. They give me a court order for the next day. I go to court. What they're basically saying is that my presence My presence can provoke a reaction in a country with a Muslim population, with tensions. That was their argument. In France, there's tensions. My presence there could provoke a reaction. Yeah? Not that I've done anything wrong. So what they then want to do, and this was orchestrated by the football policing unit, which is a section of the Home Office. Yeah? It's not a separate police force like Bedfordshire Police. This is the Home Office. This is the government. Yeah? So when they got the leader of the football policing unit up on stage, up in the court, my prosecution to say, who's decided to bring this case against our client? He said Bedfordshire Police. When they got Bedfordshire Police officer up in stage, he said, I've been forced to do this. When asked in court, you've been forced to do this. Who's forced to do this? The football policing unit. The man who just previously in the dock said Bedfordshire Police were bringing the case. Yeah? So then what they put in to give me was a 5-year ban. A 5-year ban of Luton Muslim community, a 5-year ban again where they failed previously to give me the same as the 3-year ban. I've got these maps that they tried to prosecute. Now, this is 1984. Yeah, the judge's summing up, which went in the papers, was this case is vague, cagey, and dishonest. Yeah, and again, what would I say the tactics are in front of my kids again? The last 3 or 4 things that have happened. You know, after that Cambridge incident that you saw, yeah, I go to Germany. I'm in Germany with Pegida. My wife brings me up crying outside the school. What's wrong? The police have pulled her over outside the school. Cambridgeshire Police have come. I am about to sue Cambridgeshire Police. I'm taking Cambridgeshire Police to the courts because everything they've done was illegal. The money that was taken off me was illegal. That case, this football policing case, where they tried to give me a banning order with no evidence or no crime. Yeah, they just wanted me banned for 5 years. They wanted me not able to leave the country when England play, etc., etc. Now, that cost me £6,000 to defend. I haven't got that back. The judge is summing up. The judge's summing up was cage, vaguely dishonest, give him back his money. Yeah. In between summing up and afterwards, the money never come. I've said, where's the money? Why haven't they paid me back the money? They've made a decision they're not going to pay you back the money. Yeah? So now I've got to go for a judicial review, another £2,000, in order to say, give me back the money. So whether they win or not in court, they win. Or the pressure or the tactic or the reason and the motivation for them doing it works. Because as you've seen, my children have been hysterical, my wife's been hysterical, my mum's been hysterical. Now, as a conclusion, which I would have been saying to the students watching this or anyone watching this at home, you have your views, I have mine. Yeah? I'm not here to force my views on anyone. That's it. If they can do this to me, they can do it to you. Is this freedom? Does this sound like a free society? If I hadn't told you the names, locations, and places during this speech, you'd be thinking I was talking about Russia, China, or North Korea. That's a reality. Not the land of freedom and democracy, anyway. So just to recap on it, the pressure that the police state, which is what it is, the police state, the untold raids, the fabricated cases, the prison sentences, the constant non-stop harassment, the maps telling where you can and can't walk. What? And I've seen all this happen to other activists now. This isn't just happening to me. Yeah? What have I done to deserve that? Telling the truth. I've expressed my free speech. I've showed an opposition to jihad. And unfortunately, at a time we're at now, I've been proven right time and time again. Everything I said was going to happen has happened. Everything we predicted would happen. All the problems we've seen are now being seen on a national, international, global level. And to be judged, I always say history judges people. I don't care about a politician or a journalist judging me, because history will judge us. And history will judge us as the truth tellers. History will judge us on the right side. I'd issue this as a warning to anyone watching, whether you be in America, Canada. The problems I'm talking about and what's happened to me are on their way to you. This isn't going to get better, it's going to get worse. I don't want sympathy. The reason for my speech is not sympathy. The reason for my speech and to get this and so people hear it is I don't want to watch an English man stand there in 10 years and give the same speech. Thank you for letting me talk. If you like that and you want to see more, click like and subscribe.